Hi everyone, it's Alex making this video for you from lockdown on Gili Island. And as I'm sitting here with my family, having basically just packed up our home in South Africa after 16 years of living there. And it's so interesting to ponder how we are finding ourselves here at this time, because 6 years ago I pretty much out of the blue became bedridden, and spirit started speaking to me and urging me to completely and radically shift my life, my whole lifestyle. And the message was that unless I would do so, I would die. And yes, I had always been spiritual, I had been on a spiritual path, but I had one foot in and one foot out in retrospect, even though I was doing all the right things. I had a foot in and I had a foot out. And so when this message came through, because I was bedridden, because I had no other choice, I was in lockdown in my body, I had to listen. I was at the height of my career, or so I thought, at the height of my egoically chosen career, which was in fashion. It was my lifelong dream to be a somebody in fashion. Why? Because it was a substitute for everything else that I wasn't able to give myself. And Spirit gave it to me on a silver platter and said, here, experience this egoic wish that you have and leap it up, soak it up. And then what have you gotten? What have you received from it? Nothing. It was an empty shell and it left me empty. And so disease took over and the message came, unless I change my lifestyle, I wasn't going to live. And so 6 years ago, slowly and with great resistance and with great difficulty, I completely, radically changed my lifestyle. Even though I had studied nutrition for many years, I started studying nutrition in India with Ayurveda, with very, if you will, very exclusive and selective studies that no Westerner had done before. So I really dove deep into nutritional studies, into healing studies, but again, always keeping one foot in and one foot out. And so I thought I knew it all. I thought I had all the answers. I thought I was doing all the right things until the body broke down. And once I realized that that was the greatest gift that God, Goddess, all that is, whatever we want to call it, that life could give me. And what I see is that we are collectively where I was at 6 years ago. And it's not just me, many other people have gone through this initiation alongside with me, slightly earlier, slightly later. And I really believe that ultimately we are all much more alike than we are different. We are one humanity, and as much as we create so much difference within our humanity, between sex, between social and economic status and rank and so forth, and racial and all the various differentiations that we have and separation that we have created. But ultimately, deep down, when we really feel into the depth of our humanity, we are all far more alike than we are different. And I have really come to learn that in the last 6 years through the deep journey that I was called to be on. And so what I am calling us collectively to ponder is, what does this moment in history really, what does it mean for us individually? what is the call deep in your heart when you switch off from everything that is going out, all the noise that is going on outside, and you really, for a moment, like most of us probably never have, really experienced a moment of total switch off. And I challenge you to try that. And that's why I'm putting out the Fasting for Love challenge, because we've got time now, right? The lockdown's happening, nothing much is going to be happening. Sure, lots is going to happen, but we have time. And so I urge you to take the time, take 3 days to really be with yourself, to maybe for the first time in your life, really truly connect. And when I say connect, not through any practice or methodology, but by really trusting that you, as an individual force of life, because that is what brought you onto this planet, you are a somebody already. You are an authority already. You don't need an authority outside of yourself. And so I challenge you to feel into your inner authority at this time, in the quietude of your heart, and through the mayhem, the internal mayhem that may arise, and the internal fear and the internal movements that may arise from coming into yourself, and to see what is really truly there for you. What is the message for you? Because in my personal healing journey, that is what I had to go through. I had to tune out everything that was being thrown at me from doctors and reality, and I realized all I have to go on is my internal authority and feeling. And the only reason why I recovered from the unhealable and the untreatable is because I dared to listen for the first time in my life to my own knowing and voice. And then, of course, I researched and I looked into what I needed to do. But I found the answers in all the things that were considered extreme. And at the time when I started my journey, everything that I was doing was considered completely bonkers and extreme. And now I look back and I go, yeah, wow, what I went through in terms of physical healing, I went through not just for myself, but for the collective, as many others in my position. I'm not saying I'm the only one. And what people that have gone through the same as I have gone through, not by choice, by the way, not by choice did I become this extreme, but it was through forced. It was forced evolution, just as this is forced. We have all co-created it. We are all co-responsible for it. And that is the other super important thing to keep in mind. Instead of going into victimization or into blaming of anything, because we can make up a lot of stories, and some stories may even be true. However, it doesn't matter what is true. It only matters what is true for you inside of your own soul connection. Not even in your mind. What do you know to be true? Why is this happening? I know that this is happening for the collective good. Doesn't matter if somebody engineered this, because whoever engineered this is also operating under divine law. It doesn't matter that there are all these other political things going on and reasons and motives and people gaining from this. It doesn't matter. Even that is divine intelligence. And that is what I would like you to consider for a moment. The other thing that I would like you to consider, which is probably the biggest thing, is that viruses and pathogens are never, ever the real problem. Viruses and pathogens only bring up the problem. Meaning, and this is what I learned through my own physical healing journey, Candida, parasites, pathogens, bacteria, viruses are here to help us clean up our internal terrain. just as earthworms and all the other bugs that are deeply part of nature, none of those are bad. No matter how dangerous or weird or crazy or icky they seem, they are all divine part of nature. I haven't quite figured out what the reason for mosquitoes is, but I'm sure there is a divine reason for that as well. And so when we look at pathogens and bacteria and viruses, we need to understand that they are here to clean up the internal terrain. When there is no internal terrain to clean up, these viruses, pathogens, bacteria, parasites, candida will live in harmony with our internal ecosystem, and for the most part will pass through us without us even realizing that anything has touched us, certainly without any major symptoms. And why is that? So I've been asking this question to doctors and specialists on Instagram, on social media. Why is it that people like me, who have been living on a high fruit diet, roughly 80% of my intake every day is only fruit, and I eat a lot of fruit, there is no limit. It's not about deprivation. It's about celebrating ourselves as the species that we are, and we are a frugivore species. That is the basis of our that should be the basis of our diet. And we have veered so far from our nature, and we can see that everywhere in every sphere of life, and we all know that deep down also. As much as most of us say, yes, we have veered far from nature, but I'm not willing to give up my addictions. I have normalized my addictions and nobody touches my addictions, but otherwise everything is open for discussion, right? That is the crazy dichotomy. That is the schizophrenia that we are all caught in. And I know that this is hard, and this is not, I figure like right now I'm kind of digressing, but stay with me. I was about to launch my big online program. I've gotten to the point where I can charge many tens of thousands of dollars for my programs, and I was going to launch another big one, a mastermind, a group coaching. This is not about launching any of this, because I realize right now it's not a time to sell per se. It's a time to help and to speak clearly. In fact, deep down, I am sick and tired of selling, of trying to make people want what I have. Because you either see it or you don't. You either feel it or you don't. I do not want to lure you into your well-being if you are not ready for it on a soul level. So right now I have given myself these next 2 weeks to just completely be in service. And not just in service, but to be completely and utterly transparent and to say, well, let's see, like if this is it, if this is what the end of the world as we know it looks like, I am giving myself full freedom to be 100% transparent. And so here, this is it. And the number one thing that I would love for humanity to understand, and maybe let me take one step back. So what I've been asking myself in the last 48 hours is, since we never know, if this is it, because I'm not saying that I'm untouchable, if this for some reason is maybe in some way my time to go, what would I want to leave humanity with? Like, what is the one thing that I would want to leave humanity with? And it's this, it's the message that unless we start taking care of our bodies and we start to experience the miracle that it actually is to live in a body that is healthy and thriving, and please do not compare healthy and thriving to a six-pack or a Botoxed face with inflated breasts. That is not the kind of health picture that I'm talking about. I'm talking health in terms of when the body is so healthy that no viruses, bacteria, pathogens can live inside of the body, meaning that all our endocrine system is firing up on all cylinders, and therefore we are able to have such radical clarity and connection to source that we are in utter awe of being human in a body. And unless you wake up every single day feeling deeply in awe and grateful for being in a body, you are not experiencing the peak of health. And I don't say this to shame you into anything, but I say it to you because I didn't know either until I found this path, or rather until this path was forced onto me. Because I can assure you that I would have never chosen this path by myself, right? I only came to it because I thought I was dying. And so I searched and I found and I trusted and I discovered. And this is what I'm here to share. And so the important piece of this sharing, even though it may not help everybody because not everybody is ready to hear it, and that's okay. But the reason why I'm sharing this is because I want you to understand. Sorry, my kids have just come back from the beach, which I sent them off so that I could make this video. So if you hear them, it's okay. In fact, I'm gonna close the doors, so just bear with me here. So what I want you to understand is that what we have been collectively sold as health is not health, is not nearly the level of health that we can achieve. And I don't care who you've been following, because I can guarantee it, there are, unfortunately, very, very few people. As crazy and audacious as this message seems, it's the truth. There are very few people on the planet that actually know the truth of the level of health that we can achieve, that we're meant to be living every single day. And so just as, you know, when you first discovered an orgasm when you were a teenager and you felt like, oh my God, I gotta tell everybody, this is amazing. I don't know, maybe you didn't experience this. I experienced this. And so similarly, when I experienced the level of health and recovery that is possible for every single one of us, because I saw it in myself, I saw it in my husband, I see it in my clients, that is when I realized I have to share this information, because humanity does not know what is possible. And of course, again, it's not just me. There are many other people, not that many, but there are many other people that are living this truth, that are sharing and teaching this truth. But we've been called extreme, we've been called charlatans, we've been called all kinds of things. But the truth is, the ones living this lifestyle, we are the ones thriving. We are the ones that for years since living this lifestyle, we have not had a single problem of viruses, pathogens, bacteria, infections, any of this. Why? Because a clean body will not be host to viruses. It's as simple as that. And so the distress that people are experiencing, the severe distress, which is typically only the elderly. Why the elderly? And this is not to say, of course I feel for them. My own parents are elderly people that have not been taking care of their health to the level that they could. And so of course do I feel for them. And yet they won't listen, because they feel like they have access to the most expensive experts in the world, and that is who they listen to. So I can't help them. So do I feel distressed and do I feel helpless? Absolutely. but I still have to speak the truth. And the truth is that the only reason why these elderly people are dying is because they're the ones with the filthiest colons. The colon is connected to the lungs, by the way. And so when we have a filthy colon, we have lungs that are going to be weakened. And as the filth is being brought up by these viruses and pathogens, we actually are drowning in our own shit. That is the radical truth. And I go, why is nobody speaking about this? Because most people don't know. Doctors don't know this. And for many years, I have struggled with this thing because it was like, well, why is it that me, why is it that Alex knows this and a few others, but most people out there don't know this? Most doctors don't know this. Well, I have, thank goodness, found and gathered those doctors that do know, that are living this truth, that have healed their own body through this method. Some of them, and this is what the webinar is about. So the webinar that I'm putting together, that I've put together, and it's going to be airing on the 19th of March in 2 days' time, depending on your time zone, so please check. This webinar is going to have a raw vegan doctor on board who also completely healed herself through her diet and who felt for many years like she couldn't be vocal in her community about this because otherwise maybe her medical license would be taken away. Like, that is how crazy this world has gotten. I mean, can you fathom that for a second? Another amazing doctor, young doctor, who, many of you will think he's even younger than he looks because he does look so incredibly young. And yet he is incredibly wise, a doctor of traditional Chinese medicine. Same thing, completely rejuvenated himself and regenerated on a cellular level. And so we, and a couple other experts, so we are speaking about our experience because I realize, we don't have studies to show you. We have ourselves. We have our own story, and the tribe is growing. And so my interest is, at this stage, I'm kind of like, I'm over the selling, I'm over the trying to lure you in with some special dangling carrot that shines. There's no time for that. There's only time to share the truth, and those that will hear it, and those that can't, it's okay too. I trust that too, because we are all on our divine path. So I'm not saying that this is the only path, but I am saying that this is the path of ultimate truth for those that are ready. It's not easy to hear, it is not easy to go through. But when you go through it, when you have the heart and the grace, because I actually even have to take back the word when you have the heart, because it's not about having the heart. When you have the grace of God to hear this message and you have the strength to go through it, on the other side, what awaits is an incredible new life that you cannot fathom until you go through the steps. So here's my invitation. Join me on the webinar, and we will reveal and explain why and how the virus works, why it doesn't harm certain people, why it harms certain others, how to protect yourself, what to do even if you are unprepared at this stage, because there's always time to do something and to improve, radically improve your chances of surviving it very well. But at the same time, we need to see what is happening as a major, major wake-up call. And that is what I'm urging you to get. So join me on the webinar. And for those of you that are going to be joining me, I will also then invite you for a 3-day free guided fast, which I'm calling Fast for Love, because what we need more than anything right now is deep love for ourselves, for our fellow humans. It's all about finding deep compassion for everything that is happening, taking it seriously with love, with softness, because I promise you, on the other side, there is magic. If you heed the call, if you are able to heed the call. So that's it. That's what I wanted to share. Sending you all my love from a lockdown on beautiful Gili Air, which is a tiny little 15 square kilometer island of the island of Lombok and Bali. So we are here, and for the next 2 weeks, my one and only intention is to make myself fully available for those that want to join me on this beautiful journey of cleaning out the body, but also really shifting our consciousness, because that is the most important part that we can do right now. Sending you all my love. See you soon.